Well, last New Year's weekend, I had the opportunity to talk to you, to stand up here, about how God pursues us despite our rejection of Him. From the first pages of Genesis to the final pages of Revelation. That was about who we are. We looked at the story in Mark where Jesus calms the storm and overcomes a legion of demons to save one man in Gethsemane. Our Father loves us. Every one of us is His intentional, intimate creation. We are the works of His fingers. Those who seek Him, He calls His children, and He will never turn any of His children away. This New Year's weekend, I want to talk not so much about who we are, but where we are, and why that matters. And to do that, I want to take you back to about 500 BC. Jerusalem is leveled. The temple is destroyed. It's been this way for almost a century. God's people have been living as strangers, sojourners, aliens in Babylon. But an amazing thing has just happened. Babylon has been conquered. And her conqueror, Cyrus, king of Persia, is sending the Israelites home. But the homecoming is bittersweet. Home isn't what it used to be. They begin to rebuild the temple, but give up. It's hard to face the new reality. The foreigners living with and around them do not take kindly to them. They insult them, they mock them, they treat them with contempt. They break into their family tombs, carry off the bones of their fathers. But God hasn't given up. He raises up Ezra and Nehemiah to organize Israel, to restore the temple, and secure Jerusalem's safety. The people listen to Ezra, recount God's words to them in their own language. They repair walls with a tool in one hand and a spear in the other. Tradition has it that Ezra compiled 1st and 2nd Chronicles during this time, to convey God's care for His people over the vast sweep of history from creation to their day. And to tell them, God isn't done with you yet. God isn't done with you yet. We break Chronicles up into 2 books in our Bible, but it's one epic story. And right in the middle, at the end of 1st Chronicles, we're told how the original temple, Yahweh's house, came to be. The passage from 1st Chronicles that we just read are the last words of David recorded in the Chronicles. It's an offertory prayer, like we do every Sunday. In fact, the language here, yours, O Lord, is the greatness and the power and the glory and the victory and the majesty. For all that is in the heavens and in the earth is yours. Yours is the kingdom, O Lord, and you are exalted as head above all. That's the basis for the doxology we add to the Lord's Prayer. For yours is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever and ever. Those words aren't in the Lord's Prayer in Matthew 6 or Luke 11. They're here in 1 Chronicles 29. David is dedicating materials that will be used to build the temple. And I have to tell you as an aside, because this is just mind-blowing. There's, right before this passage, we're told how much stuff David is dedicating. There's enough gold here to build several solid gold statues of liberty. That's just the gold. The entire interior of the temple is going to be covered with gold. But the most crucial thing for us is something that's going on behind the scenes between David and God. We need to step into David's shoes for a minute. David's been told by God that he's not permitted to build the temple. Why isn't David, of all people, allowed to build the temple? He smashed Israel's enemies that had plagued them for 400 years. He gained control of Israel, for Israel, the 2 highways running through Palestine and connected 3 continents. He made Israel the economic and geographic center of the known world. He conquered Jerusalem and built it up, making it the center of centers. He's Israel's prototypical king. He's the king all others were measured against. He was raised up by God because he was a man after God's own heart. He desperately wanted to build God's house. He was ashamed to live in splendor, while the ark, the symbol of God's presence, rested in a tent. And he said, God, let me build you a house. God said, no. This was before the events with Bathsheba. 1 Chronicles 22:8 gives us the reason. God says, "You are not to build a house for my name, because you have shed much blood on the earth in my sight." David's not going to build God's house because David had done the things God wanted David to do. That had to be a real kick in the pants. Have you ever felt like you've done all the right things, but someone else got what you wanted? You make a deal with God in your heart, maybe not even consciously, but you figure if you behave, if you do all the right stuff, God will keep his end of the imaginary bargain. It's a pagan idea. The pagan cultures around Israel looked for ways to manipulate their gods. If there are rules, you obey them to the letter in order to get what you want. If there's something the pagan god wants or needs, you seek to control that thing so that you can have bargaining power with that god. The pagan gods are limited in scope, so you can play them against each other. Yahweh cannot be manipulated with our behavior, with our sacrifices. Yahweh knows our hearts. James writes, "You ask and do not receive because you ask wrongly to spend it on your passions." It's not about our passions. I'm tired of our culture's feel-good narcissistic message. Dream the impossible dream. Be all that you can be. Think big. Go for it. Why? Because you deserve it. I don't know what you deserve. That's between you and your maker. I know what I deserve. It's not a mansion on a lake or a yacht or the body of an Adonis, even though, I'm pretty close there. The first service laughed at that too. I'm not sure why that's funny. I don't deserve a loving family or a church that lets me talk to them about my Father. Or a home where my biggest worry is the plant might freeze overnight if I don't cover it with a towel. My dad called yesterday to gloat that it was warmer back east than it was here. He said, "You're preaching tomorrow. Hell must be freezing over." Thanks, Dad. Whatever is good in me, whatever good I have is only because of God. God alone deserves. That's what God was teaching David, and David got it. David says, "But who am I, and what is my people, that we should be able thus to offer willingly? For all things come from you, and of your own have we given you. For we are strangers before you and sojourners, as all our fathers were. Our days on the earth are like a shadow, and there is no abiding, enduring, persisting." He says, "O Lord our God, all this abundance that we have provided for building you a house for your holy name comes from your hand and is all your own." I don't think David really thought of himself as king. It wasn't the root of his identity. In his heart and the way he looked at the world, David was something else. Whether his job was being shepherd of his father's sheep, or Goliath's slayer, or Saul's armor bearer, or being the anointed king of Israel, for David it was all the same job with different scope. In his heart and the way he looked at the world, David was something else. And Paul names it in 1 Corinthians. In chapter 4, verse 1, he says, "Let a man regard us in this manner, as servants of Christ and stewards of the mysteries of God." This word steward in Greek is oikonomos. It comes from two Greek words, oikos, meaning house, and nomos, meaning custom or system or norm. Oikonomos was a job title, like an estate manager. It's not his estate, it's somebody else's. What's going on in Corinth is Paul came along and planted the church, and then Apollos came along after Paul and nurtured it, and the church grew. And the people started to divide into Paul camps and Apollos camps. Corinth was a rich church filled with all the problems that ample resources bring. And Paul is telling them in chapter 3, "Hey, look, Apollos and I did what we did, but this church isn't ours, and it's not yours. We're all here entrusted, instructed to care for somebody else's house. In chapter 3, verse 6, Paul says, I planted, Apollos watered, but God was causing the growth. The tenses of the Greek verbs here are probably better translated as continual action on God's part. So Paul planted, past tense. Apollos watered, past tense. But God went on causing the growth. God was causing the growth. God is causing the growth. God continues to cause the growth. Ministers come and go. Elders and deacons come and go. Parishioners come and go. But God's work continues. Churches close. Churches are born. Denominations expand and shrink and split. But God's work continues. This is His house. And we are given this moment in time, this day, this month, this year, to participate in God's work and care for His house, the house God is building. When David told God he wanted to make him a house, God said no, but that his son Solomon would. The name Solomon comes from the Hebrew shalom, meaning peace. Solomon was to be a king of peace. In God's wisdom, the one who would build God's house would be a man of peace, not a man of war. He also promised David that a descendant of his would reign forever. 1,000 years later, Christ, a descendant of David, was born. When he died to reconcile us to God, Jesus promised the Father would send the Holy Spirit to indwell believers. Paul says, do you not know that you are a temple of God, and that the Spirit of God dwells in you? If any man destroys the temple of God, God will destroy him. For the temple of God is holy, and that is what you are. You are stewards of the house. You're also the house. You're covered with solid gold on the inside. You have the infinite, all-powerful, all-knowing, righteous, and loving Holy Spirit living in you. You aren't coming into God's presence when you come to church or kneel to pray. You're in God's presence all the time. I'm talking to the people of God now. You don't need alcohol or drugs or horoscopes or hypnosis to help you get in touch with the supernatural. Can you imagine how shameful we look to the heavenly host when we do these things, and how it breaks God's heart? If you want to know the mysteries of life or the best course of action you should take, stop doing the things that grieve the Holy Spirit living in you. Keep doing the things you are doing that reinforce your relationship with God, and do more things that will cause you to grow closer to God. What are those things? Spend quality time with God daily in prayer. Study the Bible with a desire to understand, a heart that wants to know God, and a willingness to respond in obedience when you hear Him. What else? Build the house of God by serving others who need your help. Sign up to help make food for Paz de Cristo, or donate blood, or bless others in worship with your musical talent, or say hello to the person you don't know. Whatever you do, do it with the attitude of David and Paul, as a steward. Whatever your job is, whatever the scope of your responsibility, God has entrusted you with a portion of His house. Our treasure, our talent, our time belongs to God. God gave you your salary to glorify Him. God gave you your abilities to glorify Him. God gave you 2011 to glorify Him. You will not be satisfied using them any other way. What will you do this year with God's property? What are you building? Where's your time going? Where's your money going? Where's your energy going? Are you consuming it? Are you using it to build a monument to yourself? It won't survive. The stuff I have isn't my stuff. This isn't my world. This is my Father's world. Wouldn't you rather build something eternal? If you want to learn to love God more, if you want to learn to trust God more, you have to do this. You have to unclench. You have to let go of the things He's entrusted to you. You have to use them not as a crutch to support yourself, but as a means for glorifying Him and making Him known. This is fear. This is faith. If you do this, you can build. And David blessed the Lord in sight of all the assembly, saying, Blessed are you, O Lord God of Israel, our Father, forever and ever. Yours, O Lord, is the greatness and the power and the glory and the victory and the majesty, indeed everything that is in the heavens and the earth. Yours is the dominion, O Lord, and you exalt yourself as head over all. Both riches and honor come from you, and you rule over all. In your hand is power and might, and it lies in your hand to make great and to strengthen everyone. Now therefore, our God, we thank you and praise your glorious name. Amen. Will you stand and join me with hymn 333?